What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Coast to Coast. I am your host, Liam Willerup, and first and foremost, thank you so much for your support on last video. It was the best one on this channel to date, and I appreciate all of you. Make sure to subscribe if you didn't already, if you're coming from last video, and let's hop straight into today's episode. Today, I'll be putting my GM cap on if I was interviewing around the league, if every team was available for a GM position. These are the teams that I think had the best 25 and under talent as well as draft picks combined. Make sure to leave a comment below which team you would have in your number one spot. Let's hop straight into this. Starting off my list in the number 5 spot, I have the Utah Jazz, who've taken a look at their draft capital from 2025 till 2031. They hold 15 first-round picks, not including their own first in 2025, which is currently top 10 protected. They also hold 4 second-rounders. In terms of their key 25 and under talent, Keyonte George tops that list, with his current season averages at the time of recording being 15.6 points and 5.7 assists per game. Outside of that, there's also Walker Kessler, who this season is averaging 10.4 points, 11.3 rebounds, 2.5 blocks, and the second best field goal percentage in the NBA at 71%, and he's also only making around $2 million for the next 2 seasons. In terms of key contracts that the team could look to trade or expire in the next couple of years, John Collins tops that list, making $26.58 million on his player option for 2025-26, but has been a player floated around in trade rumors to be moved before the February deadline. Moving on, Colin Sexton has 2 years remaining with a $19.2 million salary for the 25-26 season. Additionally, Jordan Clarkson also has 2 years remaining, making around $14 million. In terms of their most intriguing trade asset, that's Lauri Markkanen, who was rumored to potentially move to the Golden State Warriors this offseason, but stayed put and signed a 5-year, $238 million contract, but given going into the offseason, he could still be moved for future capital. In terms of my prediction for this team going forward, I think it's a little bit until they're a playoff team, and I imagine they do so by the 26-27 season. Moving into my number 4 spot on the list, I have the Houston Rockets. As taking a look at their draft capital from 2025 till 2031, they hold 9 first-round picks with the rights to swap with Brooklyn in 2027 and 5 second-rounders. In terms of their key 25 and under talent, topping that list is center Alperen Sengun, who currently on the season is averaging 18.8 points, 10.4 rebounds, and 5 assists per game, as he may well be on his way to his first All-Star appearance this season. Otherwise, Jalen Green's leading the team in scoring this season, who's averaging 20 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, and shooting 41.4% from the field. In terms of their key contracts, their current most expensive player on the roster is Fred VanVleet, who holds a team option in 2025-26 for $44.9 million that I'd expect the Houston Rockets to decline. Otherwise, Steven Adams, Jeff Green, Jae'Sean Tate, Aaron Holiday all have expiring contracts or can have their team option declined this summer, which would give Houston an additional $16.3 million in cap space. While I don't expect them to go out and use all of that money on a multi-year deal for a player, I think they more do one-year deals, as they have Jabari Smith Jr. and Tari Eason extension eligible this summer. In terms of their most intriguing trade asset, that would be Dillon Brooks, who has 3 years remaining on a front-loaded contract, as he's only making $19.99 million in the 26-27 season. Currently on the year, he's averaging 13.7 points, shooting 38.1% from 3, and is a plus defender. In terms of how I see the outlook of this Houston Rockets roster, I expect them to be a championship contender by the 26-27 season if they're able to get one more star to go alongside Jalen Green and Alperen Sengun. Moving on to my number 3 spot and taking a jump from the last tier of 4 and 5 is the Memphis Grizzlies. Taking a look at their draft picks from 2025 till 2031, they have 8 first rounders with the rights to swap picks in 2026 and 5 second rounders. And taking a look at their key 25 and under talent, it's the best so far, with Ja Morant leading the way, as this season, while he's been battling injuries, is averaging 21.2 points per game, 7.9 assists, and shooting 45.4% from the field. Moving on to Jaren Jackson Jr., who is their leading scorer this season, is averaging 22.3 points per game, 6.2 rebounds, and 1.6 blocks. Taking a look at their key contracts on the roster, Marcus Smart has 2 years remaining on his deal with $41 million on the deal left. As for Luke Kennard, he's an expiring contract with $9 million that will be freed up this offseason. In terms of their most intriguing trade asset, it's Desmond Bane, who's having a down year, is currently in the first year of a 5-year deal that could be potentially moved in a deal for Jimmy Butler if the Grizzlies are willing to move off of him. In terms of my prediction, where I see this roster going forward, I think they'll be a championship contender next year in the 2025-26 season, as long as all their players are able to be healthy enough throughout the year and into the playoffs. Moving on to my number 2 team on the list, I have the Orlando Magic. As taking a look at their picks from 2025 till 2031, they hold 8 first-rounders with a pick swap in 2026 and 14 second-round picks. In terms of their key 25 and under talent, topping that list is Paolo Banchero, who despite playing 5 games this year, averaged 29 points per game, 8.8 rebounds, and 5.6 assists, as the Magic expect to have him back within the next month. Also, coming up really close behind Paolo, given the play he's been having this year, is Franz Wagner, who on the season is averaging 24.4 points, 5.6 rebounds, and 5.7 assists. In terms of the key contracts on the roster, Jonathan Isaac will be making around $15 million a year over the next 4 seasons after his previous contract ends this season. Looking at Cole Anthony, he'll also be making $13 million a year over the next 3 years, as both players could be potentially used in trades going forward. However, I do view their most intriguing trade asset, given the play of other bigs on the roster, is Wendell Carter Jr., who will head in the next season making $10.85 million a year, a very movable contract that Orlando could use to either gain draft capital or other players for this roster. In terms of my prediction, I think Orlando will be championship contenders next year if they're able to have a fully healthy Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner throughout the regular season. Moving on to my number 1 overall team that I think has the best combination of draft capital and players 25 and under is the San Antonio Spurs. Taking a look at their draft capital from 2025 till 2031, they hold 13 first-round picks with 4 pick swaps in total, as well as 19 second-round picks, the most on this list. In terms of key 25 and under talent, I view they had the best player overall that's 25 and under with Victor Wembanyama, who currently on the season is averaging 25.7 points, 10.7 rebounds, and the NBA best 3.9 blocks per game. Given some players like Luka Doncic might not hit that 65-game threshold for NBA awards, Wembanyama might earn an All-NBA first-team selection in just his second year in the league. In terms of another key 25 and under talent on San Antonio, I'm highlighting Devin Vassell, who on the season is averaging 15.7 points, 3.5 rebounds, and shooting 44.4% from the field. In terms of the key contracts on the roster, Harrison Barnes is on a 2-year deal remaining, averaging $18.5 million a year. Same with Zach Collins, who also has 2 years remaining on his contract, but he's making around $17.5 million a year. And Chris Paul is on an expiring contract that will free up $10 million this offseason, putting San Antonio around $25.5 million in cap this offseason. In terms of their most intriguing trade asset, we'll go back to Zach Collins, as he's expected to make around $18 million in 2025-26 and doesn't turn 28 till November. In terms of my prediction for the outlook of this roster, I don't think they'll be contenders as soon as the Orlando Magic, but given the picks they have and the cap space they have as well, I expect them to be a championship contender by the 2026-27 season. And that's a wrap for today's episode, everyone. Thank you so much for listening, and your continued support over the last couple of weeks truly means the world to me. Again, make sure to like, subscribe, comment down below which team you would have in the number 1 spot if it isn't the San Antonio Spurs, or a different team you would have in this top 5. Otherwise, make sure to have your notifications on. I have an absolutely insane video dropping later next week. You guys are not going to want to miss it. Otherwise, signing out. Peace.